to Wicked Felina. I'm Felina. Please forgive me. I have a cold, but I'm going to try to present some facts about Oprah Winfrey, kind of a documentary, and I'll be adding some comments by Ben Shapiro and Jimmy Dore. So you don't have to listen to my voice throughout the entire thing. So don't worry about it. Be patient. Does anyone out there remember when Barack Obama and Michelle Obama and family attended Reverend Wright's church in Chicago? You know how he used to always have those rants, anti-Semitic rants, and racist against white people, and not God bless America, but God damn America. And apparently Obama sat there for 20 years and he doesn't remember any of this. But Michelle sat there and she never claimed not to remember any of this. And it's interesting, if you read Michelle Obama's master's thesis from Princeton, it's about white privilege and how white people took everything away from black people. It's very angry. And there's a mission going on there. You can't help but know. And so it kind of goes along with why you would attend that church. And there's no way, as somebody who's going to be president of the United States, is going to sit there and not listen to things. Or, of course, as a senator, vote 99% of the time present, where your job is going to be the chief lawmaker of the land. You have to make a decision. And apparently, when he was in the Senate, he voted 99% present. He couldn't make a decision. Well, Oprah Winfrey attended this same church starting in 1984, every week to 1986, and then off and on through the 90s. And apparently, it seems it was probably not a good idea for someone who has got a television show where millions of white people love her, as well as Jewish people love her. I mean, you're not going to get very far. You're not going to make much money if people find out that you're attending a church that's anti-Semitic and hates white people. So I think that has something to do with her not attending. You see, if I went to a church that was anti-Semitic, or they were spouting racist rhetoric against black people, I wouldn't even walk in the door. I would walk right out of there the second I heard that. I wouldn't give them any money. But apparently the Obamas and Oprah gave this church a lot of money. I wouldn't give a dime. And if you read Michelle's master's thesis from Princeton, it's full of basically a lot of resentment and anger towards white people and white privilege. So, as we know, Obama and Oprah, the Obamas, are very closely knit. And there's a great possibility that Michelle Obama will be Oprah's vice president. I wouldn't doubt it. And the Obamas will be back in the White House. Whether physically present or not, they will be physically present. They'll have a great influence on them, as well as Oprah attending a socialist conference, I believe in Belgium, several years back. So just like Obama, who was raised a communist, who wanted to change the country over to socialist and a world government, Oprah Winfrey, we've discovered, is also one that wants to depopulate the world, starting with Africa, interestingly, because Africa's population is going to double by the year 2050. So she also wants to depopulate Africa, along with Bill Gates and George Soros and all the other billionaires. So we better think twice. She's beloved, but she's not so benign. She's very left, and her policies are right in line with the Obamas. A vote for Oprah Winfrey is a vote for the Obamas and one world government. And I hope to show you in this video, starting with some clips by Ben Shapiro and Jimmy Dore. I know we've got conservative on one end and very progressive on the left, but they make some excellent points. And I just love hearing all sides, because if you hear all sides, then somewhere in between you're going to find the truth rather than you adhere to one side. So here it goes. Hello there, this is Wicked Felina. Just have you know that I'm coming down with a cold. I work with elderly people, and unfortunately they went to bed really late tonight, so I couldn't start on my project very early. But we're gonna talk about Oprah Winfrey for president. And I got a clip right here. Hold on just 1 second.
Award shows, acting and being in show business is a reward in itself. You get to do show. He goes, getting an award for acting is like, now I'm gonna mess it up. It's like getting a blowjob for getting a blowjob or something like that. It was something like that.
We'll go with it.
Yeah, I know I'm screwing it up. But anyway, so that's what I think about award shows. But she gave a big speech, and now CNN, breaking news, Oprah Winfrey is actively thinking about running for president in 2020, two close friends say. No. No. Well, let's look. Here's Joy Reid. She got a picture of The Rock. She tweets it out, when Oprah is speaking at the Golden Globes and your goals shift to VP. What is wrong with our country? This is a host on MSNBC. This is who we're looking to be our leaders. We have gotten to idiocracy. So we're looking to talk show hosts to be our fucking leaders now. And not even political talk show hosts. Not even like economic talk show hosts. That'd be one thing if Dr. Wolf ran, Richard Wolf, he's an economist. I talk about it every week. No,
I'd vote for him.
I'd vote for him.
Yeah.
No, we got professional wrestlers.
Yep.
And talk show hosts. By the way, talk about a journey. Remember when Cenk Uygur got AMS'd from the Justice Dems because of something he wrote 20 years ago, which he doesn't stand by? Oprah Winfrey used to do a shitbag show for years, like Jerry Springer, and then she stopped. I don't know if you even remember that. She stopped doing it on purpose. She goes, I'm not doing that kind of show anymore. So it's nice to see Oprah's allowed to have an arc to her life, a trajectory. She's allowed to change and evolve.
Well, I remember when I was a kid, they would still have the tabloids in the grocery stores and stuff.
They don't do that anymore?
I don't know if they do.
They still have People magazine, and they still
have tabloids.
Well, they still have tabloids, but aren't they all just online now? I don't know.
No, they're still
still there
at the grocery store. Yes.
Well, I remember when I was a little kid, I would notice it, and Oprah, when I was younger, and she did that type of show. I don't think I ever watched it, but she was always in the tabloid. She was in every single tabloid all the time.
Well, guess who wanted her for as vice president? I don't know if you know this.
You have a vice presidential candidate in mind?
Well, I really haven't gotten quite there yet.
I guess it's just
Oprah. I love Oprah. Oprah would always be my first choice. Oprah, your competitor, right?
Oh, I love that clip.
Are we sure she wasn't at Mar-a-Lago? Are we sure she wasn't there too?
We are not sure.
Jeez.
I saw people tweeting out Oprah and Michelle 2020. I saw that. Did you see somebody tweet that out? Oprah and Michelle 2020? I saw that.
I didn't see that. I saw a bunch of people talking about how they took a stand because they didn't clap for Susan Sarandon.
Oh,
like, I'm using my platform the right way. I'm not going to clap for an actress. It's like, oh, good job.
God damn it. So this is what The Intercept wrote about this. The liberal response to the rise of Trump cannot and should not be, let's find our own bigger, better version of the Donald. As columnist Emily Arrowwood wrote in May 2016, that Trump is acutely unqualified would be true even if he were Mr. Congeniality, a champion of the people with the aspirations of Jimmy Stewart and Mr. Smith Goes to Washington. Nice. So it doesn't matter if he was the nicest guy, he'd still be supremely unqualified. Even if he wasn't a misogynist hate monger, he would still be supremely unqualified to lead the country. The irony is that Oprah may in fact be Mrs. Congeniality, but she is still an acutely unqualified as Trump. Let's get a grip, folks. That's from The Intercept today.
Ben Shapiro.
Are the drawbacks. Here's why Oprah would probably not win if she ran. One, she's wildly inexperienced. Now, that doesn't hold a lot of stock anymore. In the last two presidents have had no experience, basically, entering high office. Donald Trump had legitimately no experience entering high office. Oprah's run her own business in the way Trump has. It's going to be hard for him to say you have no experience when he had no experience. She is far left. Her politics will become an issue here. Now, she wants to run as great uniter. I'm the person who everybody agrees is emotionally connected. That doesn't hold once you start running. Once you start running, you become a polarizing political figure pretty quickly, and she is pretty far to the left. She endorsed Obama in the 2008 primaries. It probably helped him win the primaries over Hillary Clinton. She traveled to Denmark in 2009 and openly praised socialism. She's compared Trayvon Martin to Emmett Till, which is, again, just insane. She's a pro-choice advocate. She's made statements in the past like there have been millions of lynchings in the United States, which, of course, isn't true. About 4,000 lynchings, as far as I'm aware, which, of course, is terrible. But then she's suggested a connection between the time of lynchings and now, right, by comparing Emmett Till to Trayvon Martin. Nobody thinks of Oprah as political, but those politics will jump to the fore pretty quickly as soon as she starts running. She also is kind of kooky. I mean, people say that Trump is a conspiracy theorist. Oprah's kind of a kook. Yeah, I know everybody wants to bury that, but aside from her various weight loss theories, she hosted Jenny McCarthy on vaccines numerous times. She pushed, if you recall, the New Age silliness of The Secret, which was this idea that through the power of positive thinking, you could heal yourself. And then it became a national scandal when one woman who had cancer said, I'm going to use the power of positive thinking to heal my cancer. It did not work. It was a fail. Right? She went out and defended the fraudster James Frey, as you recall. There was a major scandal for her. She pushed nonsense about the meat industry that had the meat industry actually suing her. So, look, Trump is a conspiracy theorist too in a lot of ways. But the difference is that Trump is already so filled with mud, right? He's covered with mud. He's a mud monster. That throwing more mud on Trump doesn't do him any damage. Oprah is considered this sort of angelic character, and that means that if you throw mud at an angel, the spots are more likely to show on the dress. Right, so that there are also scandals that are going to hit her as well. So every person has scandals in their past. Oprah has some pretty bad ones. The worst one was in 2009. Her school that she runs in Johannesburg, South Africa, the Oprah Winfrey Leadership Academy School for Girls, it was hit with a sex scandal, a sexual abuse scandal, actually two of them in 2 years. So in 2009, there was a series of students who were sexually abused by other students. The year before, there was a matron who allegedly sexually abused 15 girls. Right, she actually fought back by firing the headmistress and all the matrons and giving the girls her cell phone number. But there will be digging into how much did she know? Was she fully aware of it at the time? Right, the story sort of went away because she took the right measures. But scandals hurt everyone. If they hurt Mitt Romney, they certainly hurt Oprah Winfrey. Finally, Oprah versus Trump. Oprah would end up school-marming Trump a lot. Right? She'd end up doing a lot of what Hillary Clinton did. She'd end up standing there going, tutting him for his baseness and his cruelty. It didn't work well for Hillary. Now, Oprah doing it might be more successful, but I'm not sure school-marming works against Trump in any case. So before everybody gets over the moon about Hillary for president, I think there's some real holes in that particular theory. I also think that the Democrats are probably going to nominate somebody who's more akin to Joe Biden. Okay, meanwhile, putting aside the Golden Globes now, let's talk about President Trump's tweets. So over the weekend, President Trump had a lot to say about this book, right? So over the weekend, this was prelude to the big story of the evening. The big story of the evening was Oprah Winfrey. Oh, Oprah. So stunning, so brave, such stunning bravery, such brave stunnery. It's so much bravery. I can't even take it. I just can't take it. In fact, it was so brave that everybody lost their mind. NBC tweeted that Oprah would be our future president. Yes, really, the network, NBC, they tweeted nothing but respect for our future president, #Golden Globes. Our, capital O-U-R. Amazing. Just amazing. Your future president is going to be a lady who is extraordinarily rich, very good at connecting with audiences, and who is famous for vacillating in her weight for years and years. That's just great. I mean, honestly, we don't get to complain about reality TV stars and self-made billionaires being president of the United States, because the president of the United States is those things, right? And then brags about them on Twitter. Don't worry, we'll get to that in a little bit. But she was just so incredible last night. She got up there and she finally spoke truth to power. Sure, there are tons of pictures of her kissing Harvey Weinstein. Sure, there's an actress who back in November alleged that she fell into Harvey Weinstein's trap because she saw Oprah hanging out with Harvey and figured Harvey must be a good guy. Sure, Oprah Winfrey existed in this town for 30 years, making oodles of cash, becoming the most powerful woman in media, the queen of all media, and never had one word to say about sexual harassment and assault in Hollywood. Sure, all of that's true, but the bravery, the stunningness McBravery, just shocking, just stunning. Reese Witherspoon tweeted out in the midst of all of this that Oprah Winfrey, that she was now going to date time differently. She tweeted, quote, "I will now officially divide time like this. Everything that happened before Oprah's speech, everything that will happen after." My God, it's just like Jesus. It'll be B-O and A-O. Before Oprah and after Oprah. Just incredible. Things have changed. Can't you feel the change in the air? Can't you feel all the men backing away from the sexual harassment and abuse because Oprah Winfrey got up and said some vague words? I do. I feel like everything changed last night. Now, to be fair, Oprah's really good at this, right? Oprah's actually a very good speaker. She's very talented. She's quite a good actress. She's very good at connecting with audiences. We've known all this for years. She gets up. Chris Chaliza at CNN said, you could have heard her giving this speech in Iowa. You can almost imagine her running for president. Ugh! Have we learned nothing, people? Nothing. Right? The entire media that suggests that inexperience is bad, that we don't need somebody with no policy, that we don't need somebody who doesn't know what the hell they're doing at the head of government. And they're like, you know what we need? Oprah. Yeah, solid move. Okay, so she gave this speech, and everyone is just over the moon about this speech. It's just great. She gets up there and she finally says enough. She, Oprah, the queen of all media, finally says enough is enough. Now, do I think that's anything special? No, because I was under the impression that we all felt this way, right? I mean, everybody showed up to the Golden Globes last night wearing black. There's a classier Golden Globes than we've had in years. And it wasn't people dressed like Lady Gaga breaking out of an egg at the Golden Globes red carpet. Everybody just looked like it was the 1950s, and they were wearing black dresses. Actually, everybody kind of looked classy. Maybe this should be the going rule there from now on. But, you know, and everybody shows up, and they're talking about Time's Up and Me Too, and everybody's trying to back away slowly from anyone who is remotely associated from Harvey Weinstein and Kevin Spacey. And so I'm not sure what was so groundbreaking about all this, except that people want Oprah to run for president. They were talking about this back in March. And I'll go through it in a few minutes, whether Oprah could actually win when she runs for president. But first I want to go through the speech because it's been treated as just grand and glorious because she finally stood up for all the victimized women throughout history and over time. Oprah Winfrey, so stunning, so brave. Here we go. There are a few problems. She starts off by talking about how she is exactly the same as Sidney Poitier in 1964, right? Sidney Poitier won a Golden Globe, I guess, in 1964. And she said she watched it on TV, or he won an Oscar, I guess, in 1964, maybe for In the Heat of the Night. In any case, she says this. Just clip one. Yeah.
In 1982, Sidney received the Cecil B. DeMille Award right here at the Golden Globes, and it is not lost on me that at this moment there are some little girls watching as I become the first black woman to be given the same award.
Name them. Name them. Seriously, name the lives of the little black girls whose lives were changed because they saw Oprah Winfrey win this award. Not by Oprah Winfrey making $3 billion over the course of her career. Not by Oprah Winfrey becoming the most powerful woman in media over the past 30 years. Not by Michelle Obama being First Lady, or Susan Rice being National Security Advisor, or Loretta Lynch being Attorney General, or Condoleezza Rice being Secretary of State. Not by any of those things. Right? Not by any of these famous black women being in positions of power for years. Not by the fact that the music industry is dominated by powerful black women. Not by Beyonce. Not by the fact that the entertainment industry is dominated by beautiful black women and powerful black women. Not by the fact that black women dominate sports. Not by Venus Williams or Serena Williams. Not by any of those people. It was Oprah winning a Golden Globe last night that changed everything, people. It changed everything. And let me tell you, Black girls who are watching TV today, they are in exactly the same situation as she was in 1964 watching Sidney Poitier in his white tie and black skin, this is her words, get up and say what he says at the Oscars or at the Golden Globes. Right? It's exactly the same. Is 64, 2018, exactly the same. Now, I hate this kind of virtue signaling. I really do. Because 2018, to pretend this is exactly the same is not remotely true. It's stupid. It's overblown. And to pretend this is some sort of groundbreaking moment is just sheer crappery. It's just nonsense. It's just stupidity. Okay, but she didn't stop there, right, in her effort to garner support for her 2020 run. Then she thanked the Hollywood foreign press. And I love this still frame of Barbra Streisand, I think is pretty fitting, actually. So we may just leave that. But there is Barbra Streisand with, I guess, is that James Brolin? I'm not sure who that guy is. Maybe not James Brolin? No. Okay, in any case, here is Oprah Winfrey talking about the Hollywood foreign press and the power of the press, how special the press is. They are so special, people. Let Oprah tell you about it.
I'd like to thank the Hollywood Foreign Press Association, because we all know that the press is under siege these days. But we also know that it is the insatiable dedication to uncovering the absolute truth that keeps us from turning a blind eye to corruption and to injustice.
Oh, preach, Oprah, preach.
To tyrants and victims and secrets and lies. I want to say that I value the press more than ever before as we try to navigate these complicated times.
Yes. Yes. Just yes. I mean, and the people nodding, and the people cheering, yes, the press, oh! Okay, let me explain to you something about the Hollywood Foreign Press Association. The Hollywood Foreign Press Association is 90 international reporters. You know what they do all day? They report on Hollywood. This is what they do. This is what the Hollywood Foreign Press Association is. You know what might have been a good story about Hollywood? You know, for like the past 80 years, any time in here, you know what would have been a good story for them to report on? The rampant sexual abuse and harassment that took place in Hollywood for decades by the most powerful men in the business. That might have been a good thing. Did they speak truth to power? Did they uncover the secrets and the lies and the victims and the tyrants? Did they do that? She wants to thank the Hollywood Foreign Press for speaking up for truth. Good job, guys. You're just brilliant. You're just fantastic. Wonderful job. I am so impressed. Legitimately, the only members of the press who did anything about the rampant Hollywood abuse were people like Ronan Farrow, right? People over at The New Yorker did some great work on this. But the Hollywood Foreign Press Association did nothing, right? I mean, the idea that they're being feted as some sort of great truth tellers in a world of lies is just ridiculous. Also, I will acknowledge that the entire left focus on the power of the media and the power of the press, aside from when they can rip on the Catholic Church, like they praise the press for going after the Catholic Church for its sex abuse scandals, I don't remember them being quite so over the moon about the power and necessary wonder of the press during the Obama administration. Now we get movies like The Post, which I gotta say, I have no desire to see this movie because if the trailer, I don't remember them being quite so over the moon about the power and necessary wonder of the press during the Obama administration. Now we get movies like The Post, which I gotta say, I have no desire to see this movie because if the trailer is that tendentious and obnoxious, I cannot imagine that the movie is going to be any better than that. I mean, it is the most obnoxious trailer in human history. Meryl Streep, oh, you just watch me as I take on all the brutal men in the government. And Tom Hanks rubbing her shoulders while she does so. It just looks like a terrible movie. I'll have to watch it and tell you how terrible, because now I've committed myself. In any case, that wasn't the end of Oprah Winfrey and her glorious, grand, bravery-ridden speech. Here she talks about speaking your truth. My least favorite phrase in all of human history, speaking your truth. Here we go.
What I know for sure is that speaking your truth is the most powerful tool we all have. And I'm especially proud and inspired by all the women who have felt strong enough and empowered enough to speak up and share
Not
their
a shot of
personal
Meryl
stories.
Streep.
So I want tonight to express gratitude to all the women who have endured years of abuse and assault because they, like my mother, had children to feed and bills to pay and dreams to pursue.
Okay, Oprah's great at this, and I'm sure she's really emotional about this. You know, let's put it this way. Because I'm not Captain Emotion, I always get suspicious of emotion on cue. But I'm sure she's really emotional about this. She had a really rough childhood, did Oprah Winfrey. I'm sure that her mother endured a lot of stuff. All that said, that phrase, speaking your truth, is so obnoxious. And then to say speak your truth and have a shot of Meryl Streep, Meryl Streep, like Harvey Weinstein is a god, Meryl Streep. That's how the press treat this? Okay, there's no such thing as your truth. I've said this 1,000 times. There's no such thing as your truth. There is the truth and your opinion. And when you say speaking your truth, that requires evidence. Okay, evidence would be a good thing. Now, I believe women who make these allegations as a general rule. I do, but I have to weigh the evidence. I have to weigh how credible the women are. I have to weigh whether there are repeat accusations. I have to review the nature of the man. I actually have to look at the evidence on all of these accusations. But this phrase, speaking your truth, needs to die, and needs to die slowly and horribly in the torture chamber used in The Princess Bride for Wesley. Okay, it needs to die. That phrase, speaking your truth, is just garbage. Even people on the left are recognizing that it undermines their argument to say that. Okay, but that's not the end of Oprah's silly. Okay, and again, there's a lot in the speech to like. There is, like sexual harassment's bad. Right, I'm on the side of that. If I've not been clear about that, I've been saying this 4 months, okay, and 4 years, and for decades, like literally my entire career. But I'm going to get to what I think was the worst injustice that she did last night, Oprah Winfrey, in this speech, in just a second. First, I want to say thank you to our sponsors over at Stamps.
I can't edit this out, so sorry about that.
I keep using those words over and over because that's what the media does. If I read you the headlines on Oprah, now I'm going to be forced to read you the headlines on Oprah. Okay, I'm just going, like right now, in real time, to Google News. Oprah knew exactly what she was doing on Sunday night, CNN. HuffPo, Oprah and Stedman hint she's open to presidential run. Sources, Oprah Winfrey actively thinking about running for president. Right, Golden Globes 2018, how Oprah saved the night. Oprah 2020, Golden Globes host Seth Meyers jokes it may be in the cards. Oprah Winfrey triumphs at black-draped Golden Globes. Oprah speaks out to young girls in Cecil B. DeMille Award speech. Just so much heroism speaking in a room full of other rich people who all are forced to agree with her by the news cycle about everything. Because if they don't, then we'll all accuse them of sexual abuse or being complicit in it. The thing about speaking truth to power is that it would be good to do that when there's actual risk involved. She was the most powerful person in the media for the last 20 years. She did not say a thing about this happening in Hollywood. A thing. And now she's being used as the point person on this. She's the queen of bravery. It's like Roger Goodell saying he's taking the lead on concussions. I keep using that because it's the best example I can think of. It's like the president of Penn State saying he's taking the lead on child sexual abuse. You can't do that. It's just ridiculous. It's hypocritical and ridiculous. And again, I agree with everything she's saying. I agree. But where was she 6 months ago? Hey, not even that long ago. Hey, this is the part that really drives me up a wall. So she actually compares women who are being victimized in Hollywood to a woman who was raped by 6 white men in 1944. A black woman raped in Alabama, and the guys were not prosecuted for it. Here she is talking about it.
In 1944, Reese Taylor was a young wife and a mother. She was just walking home from a church service she'd attended in Abbeville, Alabama, when she was abducted by 6 armed white men, raped and left blindfolded by the side of the road. For too long, women have not been heard or believed if they dared to speak their truth to the power of those men. But their time is up. Their time is up. And I just hope,
because she says so,
I just hope that Reese Taylor died knowing that her truth, like the truth of so many other women who were tormented in those years, and even now tormented, goes marching on. It was somewhere in Rosa Parks' heart almost 11 years later when she made the decision to stay seated on that bus in Montgomery. And it's here with every woman who chooses to say, "Me too." And every man who chooses to listen.
Oh, so much emotional. Lecture us, Hollywood. Lecture us on this. Right? Lecture us. Because it's not like you are the scandal. Why? Yeah, you lecture me, Oprah. Yeah, you lecture me. I wasn't the one who was whining and dining with, Harvey Weinstein 5 seconds ago. The hypocrisy of it just drives me up a wall. Listen, I'm glad that Hollywood is finally owning up to the issue. So I think there's going to be any material change in Hollywood, by the way? No, I think this is all going to die down in 6 months and things will go back right to what they were before because no one's naming names. Does Oprah have a Rolodex? She knows all these guys. She got anything to say about any of them? A name? One? How about that? And the part that drives me up a wall here is the implication that America in 1944 is the same as America in 2018 with regard to allegations of rape, particularly cross cross-racial rape. If a group of white men raped a black woman, not only would it be front-page story across the nation, the president would sound off, every person in America would be calling for those guys to be strung up. How do I know? Because it was a national scandal when Al Sharpton claimed that Tawana Brawley falsely was raped by a bunch of white men. It was a national scandal when the Duke lacrosse guys were falsely accused to have raped Crystal Mangum, who was a black stripper in Duke. And when that actually happened, we want those guys to go away forever. To pretend that society now and society then are in any way similar, and she said, and that the Me Too movement is what changed that. Guess what? The Me Too movement didn't change that. Everyone was against rape, and everyone is still against rape. We were against rape. We are against rape. We will be against rape for my entire lifetime. And this pretend nonsense that 1944 is the same as now, or that it requires the same kind of bravery. No one should compare Reese Taylor to Oprah Winfrey. Okay, nobody should be comparing Rosa Parks to Meryl Streep. If you are, you're out of your mind. You're out of your mind. And to compare America Alabama circa 1944 with America circa 2018 in Hollywood, the repository of all the sexual abuse is just vomitricious. It's just a bag of vomit. And now, there's a lot of talk about Oprah should run for president off the basis of because again, what courage. What unbelievable courage. By the way, I did note this last night, and a bunch of people got mad at me for saying so. But how many times was Ron mentioned last night? Waiting? I didn't see it mentioned once. Did anybody else? I didn't watch the whole program because I'd rather have gouged out my eyes with a spork. But if you actually were watching this thing, was Iran mentioned? I like when she says, we side with women all over the world. That would have been a good time to talk about maybe places around the world where women are being routinely victimized, not just in the United States. And Oprah, by the way, cares about things happening around the world. She founded a school for girls in South Africa, right? She actually cares about stuff happening outside the United States. Wouldn't now have been a good time in that speech to say, not just women here, but women in Iran, and women in Saudi Arabia, and women in Egypt, and women right? Couldn't she have just listed those off in the middle of it? But no, because Hollywood is deeply invested in Hollywood itself, and they have to show that they're leading the fight against themselves, which of course is not true at all. Okay, so would Oprah Winfrey win a presidential election? Number one, the person hardest hit last night is Joe Biden, because Oprah Winfrey would win the primaries. Oprah Winfrey would obviously win the primaries, right? Joe Biden would get shellacked by Oprah Winfrey, not just because Oprah Winfrey is black, but because Oprah Winfrey is deeply talented, and she spent 30 years building up a stock of goodwill with the American people, and particularly with women. So let's talk more about the general election, because I think that if Oprah ran, she would almost assuredly win the Democratic primary nomination process. Could she beat Donald Trump? So here's what she's got going for her. There are about 5 arguments in favor and 5 arguments against. First, she is the most famous woman in the history of mankind. That's not really an exaggeration. She's the most famous woman in media. This is a time when people have access to information about other people at a rate never before known by man. She's the most famous person ever, right? She's so famous that Donald Trump has spent years praising her. In April 2012, quote, Oprah will end up doing just fine with her network. She knows how to win. May 2014, the greatest discovery of all time is that a person can change his future by merely changing his attitude. Oprah Winfrey, right? There are a bunch of arguments here in favor of Oprah. She's a uniter, not a divider, right? Her whole brand is I bring people together, I unite people, I make people happy, right? She's the warm and fuzzy, whereas Trump's whole brand is firing people and acting tough. So Oprah, there would never be a bigger gender gap than Oprah versus Trump, right? There would be the gender gap would be enormous. It would be like 90-10 for women for Oprah and 90-10 for men for Trump. It would be an enormous gender gap, and it goes on here. I'm gonna continue in just a second, talking about what exactly her qualifications for office are. Her other qualifications here, third qualification, she has a terrific personal story, right? So her personal story is really good. Unlike Trump, who grew up super duper wealthy and then became super duper more wealthy, largely through branding power, she was born legitimately dirt poor in Mississippi to a single mom, raised in inner city Milwaukee, molested as a child, pregnant at 14. She apparently miscarried. She got into radio at 19 and made herself worth $3 billion. And so her personal story is terrific. She definitely checks the left's intersectionality boxes. So she gets to say woman black over and over, and that's what the left wants. So the DNC yesterday tweeted out what would qualify women for office. What would qualify a woman what would qualify someone for office? Said we need to elect more, and then it's had a whole list: Jewish women, Asian women, black women, lesbians, and just transgender women, like a whole list, and said we need more women. So when it comes to the left's view of what qualifies a person for office, Oprah's high on the list, right? Black and woman. She also has crossover appeal in a way that, for example, Hillary Clinton didn't, right? Hillary was a woman, but other women didn't like her. Oprah is a woman that other women really like a lot. She polls well also, by the way. As of March 2017, she had a 49-33 favorable rating. Honestly, I'm shocked that her favorable rating is that low. I would think it would be closer in the 50s. She led Trump and actually polled her against Trump, and she leads Trump right now 47-40 in the polls, which is not a blowout, by the way. That's more like Hillary Clinton numbers than anything else. So here are the drawbacks. Here's why Oprah would probably not win if she ran. One, she's wildly inexperienced. Now, that doesn't hold a lot of stock anymore. In the last two presidents have had no experience, basically, entering high office. Donald Trump had legitimately no experience entering high office. Oprah's run her own business in the way Trump has. It's going to be hard for him to say you have no experience when he had no experience. She is far left. Her politics will become an issue here. Now, she wants to run as great uniter. I'm the person who everybody agrees is emotionally connected. That doesn't hold once you start running. Once you start running, you become a polarizing political figure pretty quickly, and she is pretty far to the left. She endorsed Obama in the 2008 primaries. It probably...
Still, and there's a whole generation, I say this, I said this, for apartheid South Africa. I said this for my own, community in the South. There are still generations of people, older people, who were born and bred and marinated in it, in that prejudice and racism, and they just have to die. Still, and there's a whole generation, I say this, I said this, for apartheid South Africa. I said this for my own, community in the South. There are still generations of people, older people, who were born and bred and marinated in it, in that prejudice and racism, and they just have to die.
The new Superman and Wonder Woman, the super rich friends, not fighting bad guys, but fighting for good nonetheless. For Good Morning America, John Berman, ABC News, New York.
Here's a nice little racism story that Oprah Winfrey claims that she was a victim of, kind of like when Michelle Obama was in Walmart. You see, Michelle Obama is extremely tall. She's about 6 feet tall. And apparently there was an elderly woman who was under 5 feet, and she needed something from an upper shelf. So she asked Michelle if she could reach it for her. And Michelle Obama claims that the reason why the woman asked her was because the woman, who apparently was white, thought that she was a store clerk because she was black. I think that's kind of ridiculous. I go to Walmarts everywhere, and most people who work there are actually white. So I think that's ridiculous. I think the reason was, I think she was an elderly woman, and she probably thought to herself, there are people out there that if you ask them, she was just depending on the kindness of strangers, as Tennessee Williams would have put it. That, that strangers, when you ask them to help you with something, especially if you're short or elderly, that they'll help you. And I think she was just asking her for help. But Michelle Obama made it out to be a racist story. And in this case, Oprah Winfrey was attending Tina Turner's wedding. And apparently she went to a store and wanted to see a $38,000 handbag. And the clerk, she said that the clerk wouldn't show it to her. She said, well, why don't you see these cheaper handbags? Well, apparently the owner of the store was at Tina Turner's wedding. And Oprah Winfrey should have complained directly to the owner of the store, saying that, your clerk didn't want to show me the handbag. I believe it's because I'm a black person. And therefore she would have reprimanded the clerk. But apparently Oprah didn't say anything at all to anybody, except she came back to this country with a story. I guess this was in Switzerland, with a story that she was treated, it was a racism event. It was another racism event. And apparently the store clerk says that this didn't happen. And at this time, a movie called The Butler came out. And it was about a black butler in the White House who had served about 60 years over several presidents, and ending with Barack Obama. It's very inspirational that a black butler is finally working for an African American president, which is very moving. But it seems like the timing was just perfect for the movie, so people can understand, that racism. Oprah wants us to know that racism still exists. Black people are still suffering. It's very much like, it's still like Jim Crow South in America. We noticed that during the Obama administration, all of a sudden, all the efforts of Martin Luther King just went right down the toilet. All of a sudden, not only were we in Jim Crow South and we had riots in the streets, but it was worse than Jim Crow South. I mean, the whole clocks were turned back. I almost thought that, when I saw them, because they always dressed like the Kennedys, and this was going to be the new Kennedys, the new Martin Luther King. And the only way you can have a new Martin Luther King and new Kennedys is that you have to create civil strife so Obama can come out as the new civil rights movement or the civil rights leader and kind of let's forget Martin Luther King, who said it doesn't, the color of the skin doesn't matter. It's the content of your character that matters. And we can just throw that right out the window because we've got a new Martin Luther King, and he's even a more attractive model with a beautiful family. So I always thought that. And this is interesting because this poor clerk is saying that this never happened. It reads, the anonymous sales clerk accused of racism by Oprah Winfrey is fighting back by way of a newspaper interview in which she says the media tycoon is lying about the incident that occurred in a Swiss store recently. And she says, as a result, she has been thrust into a media-infused nightmare that has left her feeling powerless. I don't know why she's making these accusations. She's so powerful, and I'm just a shop girl. The sales clerk told the Swiss newspaper, according to a translation from London's Daily Mail. The clerk, who has not revealed her name, was responding to a story Winfrey told last month during an interview with Larry King. Winfrey said that while in Switzerland for Tina Turner's wedding, a sales clerk boutique refused to show her a $38,000 handbag, presumably because she is black, so she probably couldn't afford it. Instead, the clerk showed her a cheaper line of Jennifer Aniston handbags. I say to the woman, I would like to see the bag on the shelf. And she says, no, that one's too expensive. I'll show you this one. She did, Winfrey says. She says in the interview it was really interesting where she was directly confronted with racism. Winfrey also told the story on Entertainment Tonight. Winfrey didn't reveal the name of the store, though journalists have since reported it was Troll's Pomme in Zurich. Trudy Goetz, the head of the luxury chain, has publicly apologized to Winfrey and has the Swiss tourism office. But the anonymous sales clerk has decided to dispute Winfrey's story. This is not true. This is absurd. I would never say something like that to a customer. Really, never. Good manners and politeness are the alpha and the omega in this business, the woman told Sonntagsblick. It is absolutely not true that I declined to show her the bag on racist grounds. I even asked her if she wanted to look at the bag, the woman said. I didn't hurt anyone. I don't know why someone as great as her must cannibalize me on TV. If it had all taken place as she claimed, why has she not complained the next day at the wedding of Tina Turner with Trudy Goetz, my boss? She was there at the Turner wedding as a guest. I don't understand it. I spoke to Oprah Winfrey in English. My English is okay, but not excellent, unfortunately. I didn't know who she was when she came in the store. That wouldn't have made any difference if I had. Meanwhile, some pundits, mostly on the political right, are noting that Winfrey is telling the story while promoting Lee Daniels, the butler, a moving largely about Black civil rights movement, and they are suspicious about the timing. Did the media even wonder for a moment how a potentially exaggerated racist-charged anecdote for this kind might help to sell Oprah's upcoming film? Wrote John Nolte at Breitbart. Did no one in the media wonder if such an anecdote mixed with the promotion of a film based on a racial theme might be a little too neat? In a subsequent post, the clerk disputed Winfrey's story. Nolte asked, "Why isn't Oprah outraged that a practicing racist just called her a liar in front of the whole world?" And on his Tuesday radio show, Rush Limbaugh, my guess is that the Oprah didn't expect that there would be pushback from the store. I think it was supposed to just end, and it is happening in conjunction with the promotion of the movie that, by the way, the Oprah is already being touted as an Oscar winner. She's already being touted as giving an Oscar-winning performance in this movie. No question. So you got to put all this stuff in context, folks. The Weinstein Company, Harvey Weinstein, who is distributing Lee Daniels, the butler, declined comment. Reps for Winfrey declined a request for comment. So there you go. Weinstein Company. She just loves Harvey Weinstein. As you can see in the pictures that I have in this video, she's sucking on his ear in one and offering this poor young English actress to Harvey Weinstein. How this woman is expected to be president, I'll never know. But clearly, as everyone in Hollywood, as it has been stated, knew about Harvey Weinstein and how he raped and forced himself on young actresses. And we have this Golden Globe Awards where all the women are wearing black, and apparently all of them knew about Harvey Weinstein, and nobody said anything. No, not Meryl Streep, who hailed Roman Polanski as a hero, and her mentor, who drugged and anally raped a 13-year-old girl. And the people in the media were saying, well, she wanted to be a star, so she was asking for it. Hollywood is corrupt. It's a corrupt, sick cesspool, and Oprah is a part of it. Don't tell me Oprah Winfrey and all her power didn't know about Harvey Weinstein, or the Clintons didn't know about Harvey Weinstein, or Barack Obama, who was friends with Harvey Weinstein, and they all took money from Harvey Weinstein. And Barack Obama sent his eldest daughter to work for Harvey Weinstein, knowing what a sick bastard this guy is. Here she is sucking on his ear. look at that. This woman who's corrupt as all hell, who wants to turn the world into a one world government and decrease the population, just like the royals keep talking about decreasing starting with Africa, cutting the population in half. How Prince Philip wants to come back as a virus and kill off most of the world. Bill Gates, Soros, Oprah Winfrey, the richest people in the world get together, the billionaires get together to talk about decreasing the world's population, to save the wildlife, to save the environment. And in fact, they admire China. Bill Gates admires how China does it. They abort children at the point of a gun. In North Korea, they put women in labor camps and punch them in the stomach until they have an abortion. South Africa, they force women to have an abortion and force sterilization. Margaret Sanger, who the progressives tout as a hero and is Hillary Clinton's mentor, wanted to eradicate the black population, the undesirables, just like the royalty in England would hang the undesirables when they committed a petty crime like stealing food because they were poor. They were the undesirables, so they tried to get rid of them. This is about class. This is not about color. This is about the rich and the poor. Oprah Winfrey, she had wonderful beginnings, but she is worth about $3 billion. And now she's talking about decreasing the population of Africa. And she's got her little scandal that happened in her school twice about a matron molesting the children. I think we need to think twice about Oprah Winfrey and her connections and her love of Harvey Weinstein, who everybody knew what he was doing. They even joked on movies and television shows what he did. She knew, and she was offering young actresses up, little girls up, on a silver platter for Harvey Weinstein to dine on. I apologize for my voice. I keep getting cold after cold. Like I said, I work with elderly people and I'm busy all day. And the only time I have to do this is very, very late at night. So thank you for listening. And I ask you to please think twice about Oprah Winfrey, who seems to be obsessed about racism and not really bringing people together, but the divide, and that she's friends with the Obamas. And it was all about not diversity, but division, breaking us up into tribal warfare. The character matters, not the color of your skin. That's what Martin Luther King fought and died for. And his death is for nothing. We've been torn apart. These past 8 years have torn us apart. And we've killed Martin Luther King and all his efforts all over again. Oprah Winfrey is a part of that. Morgan Freeman isn't. There's a lot of African Americans that are not a part of this movement. And I'd love to see a descendant of African American slaves who actually wants to bring us together, is not an elitist, and does not want to forcibly decrease the world's population down to 1 billion. They were saying 500 million before. Now they're saying 1 billion. That's a huge number of deaths. And to idolize Margaret Sanger and her efforts to eradicate the minority population, even though some of these people are black, it's almost like they're not black. I don't know what color they are. Apparently, if you're an elitist, if you're a royal, if you've got billions of dollars, the color of the skin doesn't matter. It is the content of their character. And the content of their character is a color that is too horrible and frightening to look at. Thank you for listening. I hope I've made a good presentation. That Oprah Winfrey is not the answer. Remember, she's a friend of the Obamas. And I saw her in a TV show. I saw her in her TV show. She had Donald Trump on. And she stood there in awe like he was God. And she wanted him to run for president so bad. She admired him so much because she knew that he would be great for the country. And she was different then. There was a lot of hope then, even though she was the she began tabloid television. And then she decided not to do that anymore. But she was the original Jerry Springer. She was the queen of tabloid TV. But she admired Trump and wanted him to be president. She didn't think he was a racist. No black person thought he was a racist. In fact, they love him. Al Sharpton, Jesse Jackson gave him an award for hiring more minorities and promoting them without an education up to the top than any other employer. Nobody called this man a racist. She admired him. And then maybe it's money. Seems like the more money she got, maybe the more corrupt she became, the more they change when they have money. Obama was originally against illegal immigration because it hurt the black community. It took their jobs. He believed in a sealed border. It's right in his first book. I think there's excerpts on YouTube of his audiobook that say this. They completely changed. And the illegal immigration has taken jobs away from black people because they'll work for a quarter of the wage. And since a black person is a citizen, they're not allowed to work because if you do, you can turn around and you can sue the employer for not giving you the proper wage. So there's no way a black person can get hired. There's 132,000 unemployed people in California. And it's mostly black people. So illegal immigration does not help black people. Somehow, when they get to the top and they get that money and power, they really change. Or maybe this is the way they always were. Have a think about it, because America's future is at stake, and there should be equality for everyone. Black, white, Hispanic, Egyptian, Muslims come from many countries. Everyone should have equality and justice under the law. But this woman is too entwined with Harvey Weinstein. She can't be president. The sick corruption, the depravity of Hollywood, the depravity that's in our Congress and Senate has to end. I thank you for listening. Please comment, like, and subscribe. It will help me do more videos. I apologize for my voice again, but I'm just trying to get the word out on some very important matters. Thank you, bless you, and good night.